Hello, and thank you for joining the Popdock onboarding webinar. Throughout the next little bit here, we'd like to help you learn how to fall in love with your data. Give it just another minute here. I see attendees still joining. Don't want to leave anybody out. All right. My name is Chris Braddock. I am the Customer Experience Manager here at E1. The goal of customer experience is to be your voice inside of E1, as well as help you maximize the value you get from your subscriptions. So I'm here to help you onboard new products, as well as share best practices and resources to help you be successful. My email address and phone number are on the screen. Write those down. Make me your first call when you have any questions at all. If I don't have the answers, I'll find them or I'll bring in the right resources to help you. So what is Popdock? It's a reporting tool with a powerful query engine that gives you real-time access to your data. Well, what does that mean? Well, for starters, you can grant access to data without licensing users in the original app. So if you wanted to grant access to GP data without licensing users in GP, you can embed contextual data in another app like CRM. So you could embed sales invoices in a customer card in your CRM so your sales team knows what's going on with an account before they call out without actually sending all of that information into your CRM. You can also report on historical data. So if you recently migrated to a new ERP or you plan to migrate in the future, we can help you migrate the data without going through a costly and time-consuming process of putting it all in the new ERP. If you have 30 years of GP history, you don't want to put it all in Business Central, right? You might want the last year or two. Popdock's data migration would allow you to move all that to a data lake. Much more cost effective, much less painful, and you can still embed all of that data in your new ERP. Now, using Popdock effectively will make you a hero in your business. Users will be able to get the data they need when they need it, and they won't need to ask someone to build a report for them. Getting started with Popdock, pretty straightforward process. Popdock account is created, connected to a data source, lists are created, and users are added. So we're going to go through that in a little more detail. We're also going to talk about training and have some bonus information for our Dynamics, GP, SL, and NAV customers at the end. As we go here, please post your questions in the Q&A. I'll answer them along the way, and then we'll have a little Q&A at the end as well. Okay, step one, creating your Popdock account. So the first user in Popdock will always be an administrator. So this is when you're going to want to identify who those administrators will be. You can have 2 administrators in Popdock. If you want to use a general IT inbox, you can go ahead and do that. Just be aware that we might send vital updates about Popdock to a Popdock administrator. So you want it to be a monitored IT account. Make sure someone's going to receive that email and will be able to act on it. There's really only one way to create a Popdock account, but there's 3 ways you can go about doing it. So first of all, your partner can help you with this. Now, if your partner is implementing Popdock for you, they're going to create lists and whatnot, they will actually create your Popdock account as part of that process, and they might add 1 or more of their consultants as administrators for you. The second is to work with E1. With every new Popdock purchase, I offer an onboarding meeting. That's a kind of a one-to-one interaction with you and your team, where I'll walk you through all the steps, many of which we're going to discuss in this meeting today. And then as part of that process, I actually create your Popdock account with you, add your administrators, and talk about next steps. Now, if you're familiar with our portal, go ahead and create your Popdock account yourself. Just click on your renewals link after you sign in, click on Popdock, and then choose Create Account. It's really that simple. If you already have a smartconnect.com login, just be aware that it'll actually be the same login for Popdock once you add yourself as a user. So you would use the same credentials to log in to both. And that goes for our partners on this call as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about connecting to data sources. Now, you probably bought Popdock for one or two specific use cases that we discussed during the introduction. That's perfectly fine, but we can do more than that. Popdock can speak directly with SQL databases as well as most cloud-based solutions that have a REST API. So the connectors you see for Popdock are platforms where we've already done the work to integrate with their API or database, and that includes some pre-configured lists that we know are popular with customers who use those platforms. If you go out to the Popdock website, click on the connectors, and each connector you can actually see if there are pre-populated lists and what those lists would be. And when you're looking at that list of connectors, that is not a final list. That's not everything we can do. If they have a REST API or a database that we can access, we might be able to help you with that. Just give us a call. We'll talk through possibilities and help you understand what we can do. Now, I think an overlooked feature of Popdock is called an iframe link. With widgets, you can actually embed data in another application that can accept an iframe link. So just because you don't see something in our list of connectors doesn't mean that that solution can't accept an iframe link and you can embed that data somewhere else. They don't all work, but the vast majority of them do, and just reach out. We'll help you work it out. All right, so let's step through some Popdock functionality here. Now, one of the big things you can do with Popdock is utilize a data lake. What's a data lake? It's a centralized location in the cloud that allows you to store large amounts of data. It's a big network drive. Now, there are several reasons you might want to use a data lake. You can access your data without compromising your security. You can replicate your databases to that data lake. We're going to talk about this a little bit at the end with our GPSL and NAV customers. It can provide faster access, so you're not limited by the speed of your GP server or your business internet. And has your office internet ever gone out? That doesn't happen with data lakes. Data lakes always have an internet connection, so you can always access it from wherever you are. You can also access history from multiple systems. So just like you can replicate your ERP into a data lake, you can replicate any general database to a data lake, and then you only have to connect to one data source to report on multiple solutions. You may also have compliance reasons to use a data lake. So if you're required to hold on to data for 3 or 7 years to continue to report on it, a data lake is a really cost-effective solution to do just that. Now, a big feature in Popdock is called data migration. So if you're going to go from Dynamics GP, for example, to Business Central, well, you might have 20 years of GP history that you want to hold on to, but you don't want to put it into Business Central. That takes time, it's costly, it's just too much work. With data migration, Popdock's tools can actually replicate your GP database to the data lake, and then you can continue to report on it, as well as embed that data in your new ERP. So customer history will be seamless for your Business Central users. It can continue to be seamless for your CRM users, and it's a fraction of the cost of operating an on-prem GP server. So let's talk a little bit about lists. Now, if you've entered your data into a platform, we can help you get it back out with Popdock. E1 has done the work to understand how solutions such as GP or Business Central organize data to make accessing it much easier. You don't need to learn code to get your data with Popdock, just connect it. You can still use code to level up your reporting if you're like, but if you're like me, I was a mediocre accounting student at best, you don't want to go through that effort, you just want to see the information. Popdock can help you with that. Now, if you don't know what these list types mean, we're going to teach you all about them through training. Just suffice to say that these are the building blocks of how you're going to use Popdock. All right, you did it. Your Popdock account has been created. You've added one or more connectors, and you have created lists. Now you just need some users to consume all this fantastic data you've prepared. Now you're entrusting access to your data to us, and we take that very seriously. You've worked hard to protect it in the past. We're going to work hard to protect it in the future. Our goal is to make sure that only the right people see the right data. We accomplish that with teams, roles, and permissions. So Popdock administrators have the ability to assign users to teams with specified roles. This will grant users access to data they need without asking an administrator to build a report for them. So just as an example, if all members of your sales team need to be able to read invoices from ERP, you can add them to a team that defines which connectors and lists they can access, and then assign them a role that sets the appropriate permissions, such as the ability to export to Excel. So your Excel warriors can still create pivot tables to their heart's desire. You'll see why this is important over the next couple slides. Now, we're also protecting your data from the outside world as well with tools such as multi-factor authentication, encryption, and we're working on bringing single sign-on to Popdock within the next year. So I'm going to pause here for a question that came in. What type of user in Popdock can create or customize lists? The easy answer is that any user can create or customize a list. That's actually a permission you can grant in the settings. So if you want to give your users that latitude to be able to do that, you can. If you want to lock them down to only access the information that an administrator thinks that they need to have, you can do that as well. And you can change those things on the fly. If you have a group of super users that are a little more capable with that information, you can create a team just for them or a role just for them to give them that additional ability. If you have users like myself, you don't want to give them too much rope. You can just give them access to data that you know they'll find useful, and then they can serve themselves. That's a great question, Ed. Thank you. Okay, granting access to connectors is important. A user needs to be added to a connector in order to view any data. This is another way that leveraging the Teams function in Popdock security can be beneficial. Instead of granting access to individual users, you can grant access to a team. And then using this approach, you can automatically grant a user access to the connector when they're added to the team. You can still grant access to connectors to individual users as well. So if you have one-off power users or administrators or a test project, you don't have to always apply people to teams. The bottom line here is if a user doesn't have access to the connector in Popdock, they cannot see the data. So you can use that as a way to limit access. It's also a troubleshooting step. Someone says they can't see anything, make sure they've been added to the connector. All right. So once your teams and roles are set, you can add users by clicking on the security from the Popdock Home tab. After clicking the invite users link, you'll have the option to invite them one at a time, or you can add them in bulk. And using teams will allow you to add multiple users with the same permission set all at once. So if you're onboarding your entire sales team, your entire warehouse team, adding them to a team all at once will be very easy for you. Okay, so let's talk about how you could, user options. So once a user account is created, and this includes administrators, it's a good idea to visit the user options and configure items like time zone and locale so that dates appear in the right format. So if you have international employees that don't want to read the date format in the way that the US does, this is where you're going to go to fix that. Now, if you're adding users in groups, I'm happy to arrange one-to-many meetings to walk your new users through setting their options and then the basics of adding lists and navigating Popdock. We're going to talk about trading in a little bit, but I know it's efficient to just set one meeting to get several people on board at the same time. Okay, so let's talk about the two ways you can really use Popdock. One is as a named user. A named user is going to log into the Popdock web app, and then they'll be able to create self-serve reports from the data sources that they've been granted access to. They can create favorites for information they routinely access, and they can share those favorites with other team members. And then they can also create dashboards, so when they log into Popdock, the information that's important to them is available as soon as they log in every single time. The other option is as a widget user. So widget users have kind of restricted access to data. They're only going to see the data from the list that someone has created and published for them. You can embed lists in Teams, SharePoint, and other supported apps such as CRM. When I talked about iframe links earlier, that's exactly what this is. A widget is published with an iframe link, and then you can make that accessible in various places. What's nice about a widget is it's a static list. It's something that you publish and you put somewhere that people always know where they can find it, so that every time they go back to it, they're getting the data they need. In both cases, whether it's a named user logging into the web app or a widget, every time you access the list, Popdock is going to go back to your data source and get the newest information. So you'll see our cloud mascot Skippy jumping rope when he's going out to grab the newest data for you. The bottom line is this is the two ways you're going to access Popdock data, or access your data through Popdock, I should say. All right, let's talk about training a little bit. So we have two training options. The first is an instructor-led virtual bootcamp with our jack of all trades, Rod O'Connor. It's an 8-hour course taught in 2 4-hour sections over back-to-back days. This is going to be ideal for administrators. It deals with more of the behind the scenes of Popdock, managing connectors, managing lists, adding additional detail to lists, really things that end users are not going to encounter except as consumers of the data. Now, there is a free Popdock Bootcamp Pass included in Popdock Business and Premium subscriptions. You can view the upcoming bootcamps on our website, and we'll make sure that that link is included in the email that goes out after the webinar. Once you identify the bootcamp you want to register for, just shoot me an email with the name and email address of the person who's going to attend. I'll get them registered for you. Now, that free pass does not work for the live events. So if you were planning on working with us in Vegas coming up here, I'm sorry, that one doesn't qualify for the free pass. The other option is a self-paced bootcamp. So this is useful for everybody, administrators and end users. With the self-paced bootcamp, you learn at your own pace. There are video tutorials from Rod, and then they're reinforced with written exercises that you go through within Popdock to learn the fundamentals. You retain access to the course forever, so users can go back and refresh their information, learn more about lists as they choose, and then as Popdock evolves, the self-paced bootcamp will evolve with it. So new features and functionality will go into the bootcamp, and that's where you can go to learn about new things. In the future, when a user is added to Popdock, they will also be added to the self-paced bootcamp. For now, just email me the names and email addresses of everyone you want to enroll in the self-paced training, and I will get that taken care of for you. All right, that's it. Quick and easy. Getting started with Popdock is very painless, and we know when you're done, you're absolutely going to love the data you get out of it. I'm going to take a look at the Q&A panel here quick to see if any additional questions have come in. I see one here about, can I access my GP Smart Lists in Popdock? Absolutely. You can access your GP Smart Lists. You can access Smart Lists that you created with Smart List Builder. You can even access your Smart List favorites now in Popdock. There's more information about that on our website as well. What does the developer role do? The developer role is a pre-configured role that we created in Popdock. You can go in and change any of the permissions that are associated with it. I'll include a link to the different roles. We have a knowledge base article. I'll put that in the follow-up email as well. But go ahead and go in and explore the different roles in your Popdock settings and things that you can do. Is a self-paced bootcamp free? Absolutely. We will enroll as many users as you want in the self-paced training, no charge. We want everyone to be comfortable and familiar with Popdock, so we're going to make that training available. You can also utilize me for this as well. My job is to make you successful with E1 products, not just Popdock, but also Smart Connect and the full range. So if you're running into issues where a lot of people are having the same question over and over again, get me on the horn, we'll book a meeting, and we'll get this figured out for you guys. How do I figure out the licensing? Great question. So there are 3 licensing tiers for Popdock. Basic, premium, basic, business, and premium. In basic, you have 5 users, unlimited connectors. And then when you go up to business, you're going to get 20 users, still unlimited connectors, but you also get the free bootcamp pass as well as unlimited tech support. With Popdock Premium, there's some additional features in there like the ability to use Dynamics 365 F&O, as well as some scheduling features. And then there is also still the free bootcamp pass and the unlimited support. How is historical GP data migrated to Azure Data Lake? Is it stored as a database or as CSV files? I wish I had our Popdock product manager on the call, Chris Dew. He would know the answer to this immediately. I believe it's the entire database. I don't believe it's a CSV file, but I'm going to verify that.
I'm on the call.
Oh, Dew! Thank you, sir.
Yep. Great question. Yeah, there is some. It is actually, when it gets stored to the data lake, it does get stored as right now the format is CSV files. There are other file formats that can be utilized, but we give you options on like doing all of your smart lists and an entire database of basically bringing all the tables in. And the most important part is we don't just move it there, we make it available through Popdock, so you can actually still go back and look at all your lists and stuff like that. So yep, it is definitely stored as files as opposed to just a big blob.
Great, thank you so much for that. All right, is there an option to set Popdock up in a dev environment before going live with it? Absolutely. So you have unlimited connectors with Popdock if you want to connect to a sandbox or dev environment, test out any lists or configurations before pushing to production. You can certainly do that. Now that I know that you're on the call, jump in to add flavor anytime you want. If I wanted to build a list of data from GP customer and publish via a Power BI report to 200 people, would each one of those people need a license in Popdock? I don't believe so. I believe you can just create an API endpoint for Power BI. That would feed into Power BI, and then whoever consumes the Power BI report would need Power BI licensing.
Yep, correct. No additional cost whatsoever.
All right. Well, that is the end of the questions here in the Q&A. So as I said at the beginning, my role as your customer experience manager is to be your voice inside E1. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. If I don't have the answers, I will get you connected with people who do. If you require support, don't hesitate to open a ticket by emailing or calling. Like I said, unlimited support is included in the Popdock Business and Premium subscriptions. If you're one of our Dynamics GP, SL, or NAV customers, hang on for a little bit. We're going to review some bonus security information for you next. Everyone else, thank you so much for attending today. As I said before, you've got my phone number, you've got my email address. Please reach out. I would love to speak with you and help you get as much value out of Popdock as we can. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Dynamics legacy on-prem products, whatever your preferred language here is. So we've mentioned several times throughout the webinar how important security is to E1. GP and other on-prem solutions present a unique obstacle because we have to work through your security that you've meticulously put in place to protect your information. There's 2 basic ways to do this. One is port forwarding, which means all the data that comes from the IP that Popdock uses gets forwarded to your GP server. The other is a data gateway. So this is software that's installed in your network, and then it creates a secure connection between Popdock as a web app and your GP server. It adds a layer of encryption to increase security. That's not the whole story. There's more that goes into how a data gateway operates, but it's difficult to explain in a webinar. So we have documentation on our website. We encourage you to go out and read that. And then we encourage you to gather up all the stakeholders in your business who would need to be involved in this conversation, your IT team, your network provider, if your GP is hosted in a cloud service, we would like to meet with all of you, discuss your options and the best path forward. And then our support team is ready to help you make that connection so that you have the most secure access to your data that we can provide, but you still have access to your data. Would love to hear what questions you all have about connecting to GP. Okay, the Q&A is a little quiet. Well, like I said, with my name and my email address and phone number, please reach out at any time. I want to talk with you. I want to help you be successful. And we're always here to support you at E1. So thank you for your time today. Watch out for the email with the recording, some additional links, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you, everyone.